Hello everybody! Today I would like to talk to you about verbs in the Russian language, and I will tell you how to conjugate them to speak in different tenses. To begin with our topic, we have to talk about the different classes of verbs, which will be important for the upcoming topics later. To do that, we have to identify the verbs in the Russian language. This is rather simple, because virtually all verbs in Russian end with the letter T and мягкий знак, which is the soft sign in the Russian alphabet. After that, the classes of verbs are separated. Those classes are used as categories because the different verbs are conjugated slightly differently, as you will see later on. The first class or category are all verbs with the following endings: at, yat, et, avat, nut. The second category is formed by all the verbs with the ending on it. As I said, virtually all verbs end with t. But obviously, as for every rule, you have some exceptions. In this case, the verbs to walk and to be able are exceptions. To walk, idти, to be able, moch. There are a couple of more exceptions, but they are not relevant for this video. Now let's have a look at the verbs and conjugations. In general, the Russian language has three tenses: present, past, and future. This is very limited in comparison to many other languages. Then we have three moods: indicative, imperative, and conditional. And very similar to other languages you might know. Now we touch a topic which is very special for the Russian language: aspects. All verbs have two aspects: imperfective and perfective. This is a feature or attribute which you don't have in many other languages. Therefore, I will give a short explanation. In general, the topics of aspects are rather complicated. I cannot explain it here to the full extent, but I will try to do my best to give a short overview. This is important for the understanding of the tenses that we will see later on. The imperfective aspect is for all actions which are incomplete, ongoing, habitual, reversed, or repeated. The perfective aspect is for actions which have been completed successfully. I know this sounds very theoretical, but to sum it up, the tense defines the point in time an action takes place, and the aspect tells you if the action you talked about was completed or not. Let's have a look at the following example. The verb read in Russian is читать, as you might already know. This is the imperfective aspect of the verb. Additionally, it has a perfective aspect, which in this case is прочитать. Basically, for every English verb, there is a pair of verbs in Russian. You should always learn those together. In this case, the suffix pro is added. For many verbs, the suffix is simply po. However, there are some verbs with a different word as their perfective aspect, but I won't complicate this video too much. Perfective describes a completed action, and imperfective is used for ongoing actions. This is a totally new concept for most people, so don't worry if all that sounds confusing at first. If you think, wait a minute, how does that work? I thought everything in present tense is ongoing because it is happening, by definition, in the present. You are correct. As you will see, there is no perfective completed aspect in the present tense. Let's quickly recap on the personal pronouns and move on to the tenses. You most certainly know them already, and you will need them for the conjugation. Here we have the list of the Russian pronouns, including the IPA pronunciation and a simple transliteration with Latin alphabet. Я, ты, он, она, оно, мы, вы, они. Let us start with the present tense in Russian. The present tense in Russian is used for all actions which occur regularly or take place now. This is very similar to other languages, like English. But we also use the present tense in Russian to talk about actions which began in the past and are still happening. I marked this red because that is very different to English. Here you would use the past perfect. I have been living in New York for 5 years could be an English example. Below you can see all the endings we will be using for the present tense. As you can see, the endings differ slightly for the first and second class verbs. For the second class, you have 2 options in brackets. This has to do with a special spelling rule in Russian you might already know. Never write ö, you, or ya after the letters g, ka, zh, cha, ch, sh, sh. Instead use I, U, A. Therefore, you would use the U, A, or I instead of the letter on the left. We will go through an example now so that you can see how to use those endings in detail. The word to read, читать, in Russian, will be our example again. To say I read, you take the infinitive of the verb, which is читать, then you cross out the ending and replace it with the respective ending from the previous slides. In this case, the letter U. Now you have я читаю, which means I read. Here you can see a complete table with all the pronouns and the respective conjugations of 2 verbs, to read as a first-class verb and to speak as a second-class verb. Let's see how you can pronounce them. Я читаю, ты читаешь, он, она, оно читает, мы читаем, вы читаете, они читают. Я говорю, ты говоришь, он, она, оно говорит, мы говорим, вы говорите, они говорят. Since many of you often ask about exceptions, I want to give a quick overview of some exceptions for the present tense. 7 verbs with ending on it and 3 verbs with ending anat use the second conjugation. Those are видеть, вертеть, обидеть, зависеть, ненавидеть, терпеть, смотреть, слышать, дышать, держать. And 2 verbs with ending on it work the other way around and use the first conjugation. The verbs are брить and стелить. Some verbs with respect to movement and transportation are special here as well, but I don't want to make the video too complex. Let's go over the past tense now. In other languages like English, you have to learn many past tenses such as past perfect, past perfect progressive, and so on, with only slight differences. Here Russian is rather simple, since you only have 1 past tense. This is one of the few occasions when a grammar of a foreign language might be easier than that of your mother tongue. We will use the verb читать again as our example. To form the past tense, you simply cross out the ending and add the letter L, and additionally A if you are female. In my case, it will be я читала. Let's have a look at the list to see examples of conjugated verbs for male and female gendered words in the present tense. Я, ты, он читал. Я, ты, она читала. Оно читало. Мы, вы, они читали. And here are 2 tables for the first and the second class verbs conjugated in the past tense. to read. Я, ты, он читал. Я, ты, она читала. Оно читало. Мы, вы, они читали. Говорить. Я, ты, он говорил. Я, ты, она говорила. Оно говорило. Мы, вы, они говорили. Well, besides the fact that the Russian language includes here the gender of the person rather than the person, as in I, you, he, she, it, you might think that Russian past tense is relatively easy. But I have to slightly disappoint you. Here we have again the word читать as the imperfective aspect and прочитать as the perfective aspect. As I said before, the present tense has only the imperfective aspect. Therefore, the word прочитать as the perfective aspect is not conjugated in the present tense. But in the past tense, this aspect becomes relevant. When talking about the sentence, yesterday I read a book, both verbs could be used and it would depend on what I would like to say. Talking about a male person, I could use the verb читать with я читал or прочитать as прочитал. It simply depends on the details of the action. Do I want to say that yesterday I read my book and I finished it? Or do I want to say that yesterday I was reading my book, but I still have some chapters left for the future? You really have to think about what you want to say, and depending on that, you have to decide which aspect of the verb you have to use to express this. Let's move on to the final tense of the Russian language, the future tense. As in the past tense, the future tense also uses both aspects of the verbs. Even though the difference might sometimes be very small, you should still think about the context to choose the correct aspect. Do you want to say that I will be reading tomorrow when you pick me up? Or after I have finished reading, you will pick me up? Let's have a look at the detailed conjugations. We will start with the perfective aspect, which is прочитать. To say I will read, in the sense I will have completed reading, you will have to cross out the ending and substitute it with you, and you will be left with я прочитаю. For the two classes of verbs, here is the complete conjugation table of the future tense with the perfective aspect. This table might seem already familiar to you, and yes, you are right. These are the exact same endings you have already learned for the present tense conjugation. Я прочитаю, ты прочитаешь, он, она, оно прочитает, мы прочитаем, вы прочитаете, они прочитают. Я поговорю, ты поговоришь, он, она, оно поговорит, мы поговорим, вы поговорите, они поговорят. The next topic will be the future tense with the imperfective aspect. To say I will read using the imperfective aspect читать, we would have to form the tense the following way. Я буду читать. You can see highlighted in green that the infinitive form of the verb is part of the future tense. The infinitive form is combined with the conjugated form of the verb to be. So you basically take the future form of the verb to be and simply add the infinitive of the verb you want to use. The table below gives you all the necessary conjugations in future tense. You just have to remember those 6 forms and you will be able to construct all other verbs in future tense. Я буду, ты будешь, он, она, оно будет, мы будем, вы будете, они будут. If you want to say I will read, it would be я буду читать. Now we can summarize what we have just learned. The past is conjugated by crossing out the ending z Then you add the letter L for masculine, an additional letter A for feminine nouns, or O for neuter, or E for plural. The present with imperfect aspect is conjugated normally with endings you saw in the video. The present with perfective aspect simply does not exist. For the future tense, the verbs are conjugated with the verb to be for the imperfective aspect and normally for the perfective aspect. I can totally understand that this was a lot and you might need to watch this video again to fully understand the different forms. Now let's have a look at the topic overview. Here you can see marked in orange all the topics we have discussed in this video today. Even though we have talked about the tenses and the aspects, there is still much more to learn and study. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time for more on the Russian language. Thumbs up if you did enjoy the video. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel to get more videos about the Russian language. And if you have wishes for other topics, leave them in the comments below. Thank you and bye!